And so we're talking a little bit about relationships there, and the need for when we're during treatment. Let's think in that kind of that world at the moment, like having that person. If you have got somebody who is your partner, like, then is there a difference to that?
Cool. There is. I mean, it's very difficult because there is a change in roles often around cancer, or any, to be honest, it's any kind of health thing where one person, for whatever reason, becomes less able to stand on their own 2 feet through ill health. So what can then happen is you end up with a slightly imbalanced relationship where one person is constantly worried and protecting the other, and the other person is dependent upon the stronger partner, the well partner. I think there is an inevitability that happens to an extent. That is always going to happen. And what could be difficult is then getting that role reversed when you're back out of it. So from having been equal adults, there's now a change in balance.
Yeah.
And that's fine, that can be really supportive. But I've always said, I always envisaged that the ideal relationship is one where you have 2 people walking down the road together hand in hand.
Okay.
They definitely have 2 legs, they definitely have a head each, and they definitely have 2 arms each. Okay. So if one of them has a stumble, which would be like a cancer diagnosis, the other person is stable enough to pick them up and just support them for a while as they carry on down the road until they're back on their 2 feet. But the thing is, they keep their 2 feet on the ground. So in other words, they keep themselves as what can be dangerous is if the other person wants to pick up the other person completely or takes them off their legs. What happens is you start to destabilise everything. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So in some ways, I think it's very important for both partners, the person with cancer and the person who hasn't, to be able to keep their own legs, not to get so caught up and dependent on each other. They can no longer be stable and strong for each other.
Yes, yeah.
So
strong and stable leadership.
So I think it's really important to have that person there who can help, who can be supportive. But you also have to recognise that they need to have some space as well to keep them going with their life as well, so that they can be that strong and stable person.
And so you're discussing it as a stumble there as well, and so is there a difference, and how do you manage that kind of conversation when it is going to be a more sustained thing, when it's going to be like a longer set of, like, it's a leukemia which is treatment for a long time, like what's that?
So again, it's about expectations, isn't it? And I think it's important to realise the impact on partners as well as the impact on the person who's got the diagnosis.
Yes.
So this is a difficult conversation for them to hear as well.
Yeah.
Because it's going to impact on their life as well as their partner's life, and so they have complex emotions to deal with. So again, it's bringing somebody early in on that conversation is very important, so that you can together face this in terms of what the expectation is and what's going to happen. Because as you know, treatment isn't something that happens in just a couple of weeks and it's done. It's kind of often it's a long term. So you need to be able to have those conversations with the doctor about, well, what does this mean, and what is where does it go from here, and what are the expectations, so that both can adjust.
And I guess as well, that's in both senses of it's important to note that it's not, as you mentioned, it's not just when treatment has finished. Like, even if your treatment is finished, like, there are things that are like it's
and it's not the impact of treatment is not something that just finishes with treatment, as much as we'd all like to think it. And often you see partners who I had one gentleman who came to me because he was worried because his partner had booked a cruise for 2 weeks after he'd finished treatment, thinking that they would be back to normal and that they could go and enjoy it. And she'd gone to bought a whole load of lingerie, and he was terrified because he didn't know how to tell her that he just wasn't going to be ready for getting back to how things were that quickly. And he was asking my advice about when he should say this, and I said, well, don't wait till you're on the boat, because that's you need to start talking about it now. And it is about having that conversation. Look, I'm really looking forward to getting back to normal, but this isn't, I don't feel I'm there yet, and I'm feeling really tired still. And just start to manage the expectations so that you don't put yourself under huge pressure. And also they can kind of get their heads around it, and they don't put that pressure on you either.
Yeah. And we were saying that feeling can go, like the expectations can come from them as well. So I was explaining that like my experience was the opposite of, so we like after treatment, young man, I'm ready to go, come on. And like my girlfriend hadn't changed the way that she looked, and I suddenly didn't have a tube in my arm. But actually the harder thing was from her side of
to adjust to you just being okay.
You're not. Yeah. I don't have to look out for your cable anymore, your tube, or look out. And not just seeing somebody who's sick, and us having that.
And it is an adjustment, and it does take time.
Yes.
And you need to acknowledge it's going to take a bit of time. It's not just quick. But it means actually going out and doing things. Start doing things together as a couple that are nothing to do with cancer and hospitals and doctors, and start to see each other as two independent adults walking down that road hand to hand. You're fine. Because it just takes a bit of reassurance to know that we're now back to where we were. But if you're not, say it and encourage them to say, look, how are you feeling about this? This must have been difficult for you. Are you ready? So that you can actually talk all the time. And I think every couple, regardless of cancer or not, should have a moment every week where they just check in with each other and say, how are we doing? Over a cup of tea, usually going for a walk, or just over breakfast in the morning. How are we doing?
I hope you've got one of those like step meals, because you're getting all these conversations. It must be good.